Hey, everybody, I want to welcome you to the Goblin Grenade podcast. My name is Dom Douglas, and we are now on a new channel. That's right, Max Heroes and Villains YouTube channel. We got a new camera. I'm hoping it works pretty good. But first, we have no intro. I am still working on the new intro. But I do have something that I've been wanting to do since I got this new camera. Oh, yeah. Right there. Kind of actually didn't need to do that. But, yes, we are here. This is the first episode of the new season of the Goblin Grenade podcast. So, with the new channel and the new audience, because the previous way to find this was through the company that I am a commentator for, Extreme World Wrestling. And, but now we are on Max Heroes and Villains because this particular podcast makes a little bit more sense there. Here. So who am I? Well, I'll tell you who I am. I am Dom Douglas, commentator for Extreme World Wrestling. I am also a very, very heavily into Magic the Gathering, video games, and some nerd stuff. This is going to be the nerdiest podcast that you can think of when it comes to Magic the Gathering mainly. This is a Magic the Gathering podcast named Goblin Grenade after all, which the artwork right there, right here, that is the Goblin Grenade of this podcast. The name is just something funny. I love goblins as much as I can in Magic the Gathering, to the point that I do have a Zada Commander deck, which is typal goblins or kindred goblins. Either of those terms are acceptable. And I've been playing this game since 1995. I've been playing it for a while. I've taken a long break, and shortly after moving down to North Carolina, I got back into the game. My pre-commentator history is I'm a theater kid who went to school for exactly half a semester before he blew his knee out, and decided to take a year off to heal the knee. And we're how old am I? So we're 26 years into that 1 year vacation, and it has been a magical life. I will never deny that. So my interest, definitely wrestling, Magic Gathering, video games. And speaking of video games, we're going to go into the first topic of this podcast. Besides, who am I? Throughout the first episode of the new season of this podcast, I will let you know and give you some stories, hopefully, of who I am. But we have a new mic stand. If you're coming from the old season 1 podcast, we have a newer mic stand that the mic is on, that I had to jury rig to make it work, because that was the first mistake I did when I ordered this. I forgot to order a mic stand for this particular microphone because the Blue Yeti Nano does not work with this particular one. So that's on me. So my favorite formats in Magic are Commander, but I love Limited. I am a sealed and mainly draft guy. I play Arena a lot for the draft capabilities of just being able to draft whenever. I've been playing so long, it used to be called Type 1 and Type 1.5 and Type 2. So there you go. Right there. And if you played during those times before it was Standard and Modern and Pioneer and Legacy and Vintage, and it was Type 1, Type 1.5, and Type 2, how's your joints doing? Because mine's aren't doing too good lately. So the first topic, besides my introduction, is in December, I was on a sabbatical from November to January, November of last year to January of this year. I've been back for about 3 weeks now, and it was much needed. Good way to get my head back in the game, if you will. Mental health is important. I will say that right now. That's why I had to leave for 2.5 months. My mental health wasn't good, and I needed to check myself before you wreck yourself. And I didn't want to wreck myself, so I decided to take some time, get right in the head, and I'm doing much better. During that time, however, Path of Exile 2 went into early access. Now, Path of Exile 1 has been around for about 13 years, and I've been playing it a lot since it became available on the Xbox One. I tried to play it when it first came out, but up until very recently, the computers I've owned were basically just barely functioning Windows 95, Windows 98 type stuff that could almost work YouTube. And computing really wasn't my thing. And even then, when I became an editor, I just kind of upgraded the computer just to be able to edit. And then the last computer I had, which the motherboard is right there, that is what got me started in wrestling for editing shows and whatnot as well, because I do that as well. And that computer lasted me 8 years until it finally started kicking the bucket. Now this computer is doing amazing. But still up until very recently, my computers could barely play video games. And that was just by design. I don't play a lot of video games here. I can never figure out the piano-like keyboard of the mouse and keyboard, even though I do know it is superior, and I do know PC definitely has its advantages, but consoles have their own separate advantages. PCs are always upgradable. PCs have mods. PCs will have better graphics, as I have to touch the springs, because if I touch them, they make that sound that you may or may not have heard. And PCs can have, as I just said, mods, but also it's a little easier to implement your own things. I can record my gameplay easier on a PC. Console, however, yes, it doesn't have to get upgraded, but every game, respectively, will work on the consoles. The controller, for me, is easier to do than mouse and keyboard. I sacrifice about 1,000% accuracy and precision in doing so. But that's a concession I'm okay making. And also, when it comes to consoles, it's not as much of a nightmare. Like my Xbox One, I just have one login for everything. The PC has 18,000 logins for all the other different things that I kind of have to remember if I'm lucky. So there is always the pros and cons to PC and console. In my honest opinion, there is no wrong answer. You do you. I'm not going to tell you one way or the other when it comes to gaming. Just game on. And Path of Exile 1, I've gamed so much. It is a free-to-play game as well, with the only cost of entry might be $5, so you can trade with other players to open up more stash tabs. And I'll explain that it is an action RPG, an ARPG. Think of it as like a Diablo clone, if you will, for a gross misrepresentation of the entire genre. Action RPGs like Diablo, Path of Exile, Torchlight series. There's also Last Epoch, a bunch of other games fall into that. Even Borderlands, for it's a looter shooter, and Destiny franchise can be technically considered part of that Venn diagram because it is a looter shooter. So Path of Exile 1, they've been working on the new game, and it came out in early access. You had to pay $30, which you're basically paying $30 worth of the in-game currency to buy cosmetics or more stash tabs. And that's what I did. I bought some of the stash tabs that are needed for the new game and kept everything else until such time that I'll need more stash tabs, or they go on sale. Every 3 weeks or so, the tabs go on sale for Path of Exile. So early access had some hiccups in the first month that it was available that I wasn't able to play because my console was all the way in North Carolina and I was in New Jersey. As I said, I took a very much needed mental health break to the point that I had to buy a cheap Xbox One just to play some games because I didn't bring any forms of entertainment with me. And I was not going to go 2.5 months just watching videos. So But that meant also I couldn't play Path of Exile 2 because it's only available on the S and X series of Xbox. I finally got around to playing it, and I've been playing on average up until like 2 days ago about 10 hours a day. I did do an edit in between those for a show, and it wasn't 10 hours a day on those days. It was still 2 or 3 hours a day that I played. And so far, I'm loving it, but there's some things that definitely I do not like. The combat's super good. Melee, they said they fixed. I don't think they did. As much as they think. I've seen a bunch of videos of people doing the warrior melee, and it's hard mode for a game that's already hard. Some of the things I don't like is if you die on a map, if you die in a level, you get sent back to your last checkpoint. Okay, that's cool. But it respawns all the enemies in the map. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Because most of the times that I was dying in the first playthrough that I did was against the bosses. And it didn't help that sometimes I'd have to fight the enemies that I just killed to get back to the boss. So that's one thing I don't like. Whoever, I want to understand the design logic for that. Like, you know, if you respawn on a map, if you respawn in a level, let's respawn everything, enemies included. It's already a very hard game for casual people to get into. You can get into it very easily. And if you do want to get into it, please, for the love of all that is good on this planet, do a build guide. Don't try to go in blind. This game will humble you very quickly. It is a very hard game. Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2 are heavily inspired by Diablo 2, which has been going for 25 years now. Even the remastered edition, Resurrected, which I still play, it definitely wears its Diablo 2 sleeve on proudly. But there's a problem with being too hard sometimes. When you complete the campaign, you repeat the campaign on a higher difficulty. That I understand because the full game isn't out yet. So that's, I think, the concession they made just to make sure you can at least experience the end game content as intended. Because there's things you can do in the game, like do a mission, fight a special boss in an area to gain more passive points, to pump your skills up and whatnot. I like that gear isn't, you don't have to rely on sockets on gear. Path of Exile 1 was very socket heavy. Every item you had between 1 to 6 sockets depending on the gear. Now these sockets can be linked as well. So when you put your skill gems on that item, you know, you can put, like, if you, like, I play archers a lot, the Deadeyes in Path of Exile 1, and your skill gem will be green because there's 3 different color skill gems for dexterity, intelligence, and strength. Green is dexterity, blue is intelligence, red is strength. So I need a green gem, which will fire 3 arrows. So I need the gear to have a green gem socket. And then if it's linked, which means I can put another socket on there to boost my triple arrow skill. So now I need a red socket to make those triple arrows fire. So now I'm firing 3 fire arrows. So now I need a green and a red socket, linked item. And now say I want to have them, when they hit an enemy, they split into 3 more arrows. So now I need a blue gem, you know. So you can see how complicated it gets, because most gear has 3 to 4 sockets and your armor has up to 6. And finding 6 linked socketed items for me has always been a nightmare. But that's where the trading board comes in. And In Path of Exile 1, I found it very easy up front to use the trade board. You'd need to buy a advanced tab. Editing Dom here. It's a premium stash tab, not an advanced stash tab. Premium stash tabs. So you can sell items, but then you can actually trade and look at the trade market in Path of Exile 1 to see the pieces of gear that you may or may not need. Path of Exile 2 goes about this a little differently, though. It opens up another website. So fortunately on PS5 and consoles, PS5 and Xbox, they have web browsers on there. It'll automatically open up that platform's web browser, log you in to Path of Exile's trading website, which is run by the company that does Path of Exile 2, that made the developer of Path of Exile 2, Grinding Gear Games, which will be abbreviated to GGG. And this has made it so Xbox, PlayStation, and PC players can all play in the same ecosystem, which is super appreciative, because buying things in the trade market in Path of Exile 1, because PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 or 5, Xbox One, Xbox S, X Series, and PC were all separate. And because more people played on PC, the market was a little easier to buy things on. The market for Xbox, it would be double or sometimes triple the amount that you would need. You cannot buy gold in the game. It's all trade. So if I have like 10 items of scrolling, I can trade for one like green gem or something. That doesn't happen, but that's just the easiest way to explain it. So it's definitely a vibrant and different take. You can get gold in this game, but usually it's only meant to like buy gear, or mainly to respec your character if you don't like the build, or you need to make changes when you level up. The trade market opens up in Path of Exile 2 into its own separate browser, and you can look, and it took me forever, but if you need to scroll down, like I opened it up and it was like, log in with your GGG account or your Path of Exile 2 account. And I'm like, I'm on an Xbox. How do I do this? It took me a day, and I'm not proud of this because I'm not the brightest light bulb in the lamp or the sharpest tool in the shed. That if I just scroll down, I could just press the Xbox button or the PlayStation button, and it'll automatically log me into my account on for the console. So it took a bit. So if you get confused and play it, just remember you can scroll down when it opens up that window when it says log in, and it'll say log in using your Xbox account, log in using your PlayStation account. Click the console that you're playing on's button, and it'll automatically do it. So that means you can now buy items through the trading website. There's loot filters created by NeverSync, I think they go by, but you also have to download the filter. It's bizarre. I don't think it's I think you have to download the filter on the website or access it through that website, and then you can follow NeverSync and then follow whichever loot filter you want, and then you have to go into the options menu. Yeah, you can see how bad some of it is. Mind you, it's early access, but still, it makes it really hard to like circumnavigate the trading and loot filters. The gameplay itself is solid. It's different enough for me to be considered Path of Exile 2, while retaining a lot of the things that Path of Exile 1 is known for, mainly the progression passive menu, the absolutely daunting when you first look at it passive menu. It has 6 slots, 6 starting nodes, and then it has about 800,000 nodes when you first look at it, it seems, to like, how do I make a character? This is why I say, do yourself a favor, look up a build guide. It'll help you out tremendously. Even starting like leveling characters, it'll be like leveling monk, leveling witch, leveling ranger, leveling warrior. Just look up a leveling guide, and it'll walk you through how to at least not get stomped like the newbie player that you are. Because I'll tell you what, I've plucked about 500 to 600 hours, if not more, into Path of Exile 1, and I still don't know what the hell I'm doing in the game. And yet, Path of Exile 2 can get more complicated more quick. What else did I not like about it? The mapping so far, I just got into mapping with one character. I rolled an archer, Deadeye, ranger, Deadeye with gas arrows. So I do poison clouds all over the place. And I wasn't just like I felt like I wasn't clearing enough enemies out. So I went with the Blood Mage, which I'm having a blast with. Even if it is taxing my Xbox One, that's okay. It fires 100,000 fireballs at once, and even on high-end gaming PCs, it chugs them. So it's not surprising me that it chugs my Xbox One X. But I'm having a lot of fun with that. And now I'm playing Warrior just to get used to it. I'm in Act 2, and I can see why people complain about Warrior being hard mode on a game that's already hard. Whew. So that was my initial thoughts of Path of Exile 2 early access. It costs $30 to get in. If you want to do it, by all means, it's your choice. I would say play Path of Exile 1 first. A little bit, just to see if you want to be down for it. Because the game will come out eventually. I think in like 4 or 5 months for free. But for us people that needed to play the game now, or at least in early access, to say we were in there when the doors first opened a little bit. We got the VIP access to the club an hour before everybody else got in. It was appreciated. Plus, you're just paying that $30 in in-game currency to buy stash tabs anyway. And if you do buy the $30 to play and you've never done it before, buy a premium stash tab, buy the currency stash tab, and that'll get you going. Just buy one of each, and that'll get you going for the first playthrough, at least. Because then you can at least upgrade your gear through the website, and you can also not have... You get 4 tabs, just 4 basic tabs, and they will fill pretty quick with currency. Second topic is going to be really quick because it's going to be its own separate video, I think. I did the Aether Drift pre-release yesterday, and I had a lot of fun with the set. I wasn't anticipating having that much fun. But then again, it was the first time I really played Magic in a store in 3 months. So I've only played 2 games of Magic in that 2.5 month time that I was off in person. I played a little bit of Arena, but even then, just kind of put it aside. I was like, I'm taking a break from everything besides Diablo 4, and that's it. I'm just shoving it all to the side. Pre-release was fun. Aether Drift is NASCAR the set, so it's got the mechanic of max speed and all that, but it's also got this really interesting thing where it's doing 3 planes of existence in 3 planes of Magic the Gathering. This particular set takes place in, and Morgana, Amonkhet, and it was named Kaladesh, now named Avakar. So I'm forgetting. And I could go into my binder and look. But instead, you get Editor Dom again. The planes that Aether Drift take place in is Avashakar, which is the new name for Kaladesh, Amonkhet, which we've already been there, and Murganda, a wild plane where the track is suspended in canopy due to safety concerns on the surface. The last time we were in Murgana, it was referenced on future site cards, Imperiosaur and Murgana petroglyphs. It was later featured as a plane in Plane Chase on the card Feeding Grounds. So we've never been to this plane before. It was only referenced. And Plane Chase is a commander variant. Is the 3 planes, so it's taking mechanics from those 3 planes that they're known for, like cycling and some of the god cycles, and energy from the other set. It's doing a really interesting thing. And I wasn't hyped for the set, and I had a lot of fun in Sealed in the pre-release that I did. It was a small one because technically it was on a Friday at 3:00 in the afternoon, and people were still working. But that's my favorite time because stores do two-headed giant, and I'm not a fan of it unless I'm bringing somebody with me, and I generally don't do that. The reason being is in two-headed giant, if I'm failing, I'm causing the person who's got stuck with me more. How do I say it? Like I'm preventing them from having fun because I'm a bad player. Not like but I'm just a bad player because I don't know every card. I didn't do any looking up of the sets usually. And before the set comes out to get a gauge of, play between the cards and whatnot. So I feel like if I misplay or if I kind of have a bad game, I'm preventing somebody from having fun, my teammate from having fun. Whereas if I bring somebody in, they know the brand of BS that I bring to Magic the Gathering. And they're like, look, we're here for a good time, not a long time. If we go 0-3, we're still going to do some cool stuff in those games. And I'm honest. I bought the Aether Drift first finish line bundle, and I opened that up yesterday. Got some decent hits on it. Cards that I'm gonna use for my commander decks, which is now quick count. I'm up to 26 again. Last year I went from 26 to 19, and then over the course of the year I pumped those numbers back up to 26. And I think there's maybe one or two commander decks that I'm gonna break apart from those 26. Because I'm in the process of making 3 other commander decks. Budget, and one of them is budget slivers. Yeah, that's going to be fun to try to do. Because slivers is generally known as a very expensive commander in the 99. Like your commander, usually the sliver cards, the sliver queen and the first sliver, they're very expensive. And I think I have the first sliver. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm hoping, because over the course of the last year, I was buying very busted cards at the store I go to that are heavily played, that are a quarter a piece, or severely discounted because they've been chewed on. I've been buying some of those because they've been slivers, and I've been just trying to slowly accumulate enough slivers to say I can at least run a halfway competent sliver deck. So yeah, I play a lot of Commander, to the point that the first episodes, I think 4 through 8 of the first season of this podcast, was the Commander decks that I currently had in my possession. And I'm going to do that again for this one too, but that's going to be a little bit down the line because there's been new ones and other ones have changed completely. So it'll be interesting for me to see the ones from last year in 2024 to this year to see how they go. And now, I did this before last year. I looked at the footage. Okay, whatevers. This is my thoughts of the sets that are going to come out in 2025. Magic has already said the sets that are coming out. We've already had Innistrad Remastered. I wasn't going to do that anyway. But the first set was Aether Drift. I did the pre-release, so that was one I was going to do the pre-release on. I'm going to tend to do the pre-release and drafts as much as possible in paper, but I have to be super behind the set. And Aether Drift, I'm going to draft maybe on paper a few times, but it'll be on Arena. I'll draft it in Arena. So that came out. That comes out next week, actually. February 14th is the official release of Aether Drift. Then there's, in April 11th, there is Tarkir Dragonstorm. So that's the next Magic set coming out. Then I'm kind of excited for it because Tarkir, I have a warm place in my heart for Tarkir. Then there's, in June 13th, there's the Final Fantasy set. That's the one I'm hyped for. I haven't been hyped for one of the Universes Beyond products since this much, since the Lord of the Rings set. And I went pretty hard on the Lord of the Rings set, to be honest with you. So now I'm going to go probably just as hard on the Final Fantasy set as well. And then in August 1st, Edge of Eternities, which is the last official traditional Magic the Gathering set, because every set that comes out this year isn't standard, which will present its own problems. But Edge of Eternities is the space set. I'm not looking forward to that one. I might just do the pre-release, maybe buy a bundle, but that's it. I bought a bundle for Aether Drift because they had the Finish Line edition for $80, which was great. Then there's Marvel Spider-Man, which is to be announced. It's going to be towards the end of the year. But Marvel Spider-Man, I think, is the perfect introductory to the Marvel and Magic the Gathering alliance. If we get a set a year, that'll be great. If we get a couple Commander products throughout the year of the Marvel, I'll be okay with that too. But one set per year for Marvel should be fine, because Spider-Man is a great way, as I said last season as well, to introduce Marvel to Magic the Gathering, because Spider-Man and the rogues gallery, if you will, of villains that Spider-Man has, and his friends as well, it's tremendous. I mean, you could just do the set on Spider-Man and the Sinister Six alone, and that is your base for it. You know, you don't have to introduce anybody, and you can get a full set and tell a full competent story with just that. So, wise move. Am I looking forward to that one? Probably not. I will play, and I will get a bundle. I know that much. And then the unannounced, as of this moment, Universes Beyond set coming out probably in November or December of this year. I will tell you what, I'm not looking forward to this one, especially if it's Avatar The Last Airbender. This is no knock to Avatar The Last Airbender fans. I am not one of you. This product is not meant for me. Just like the Doctor Who products were not meant for me. The Fallout commanders were. Warhammer wasn't meant for me, and because I don't play Warhammer, but I bought 2 of the Warhammer commander decks as well. So who knows? But when it comes to like lore and knowing a little bit of the franchise, at least I knew some Warhammer. I'm definitely a fan of the Fallout games. Final Fantasy up my alley. Lord of the Rings is my favorite franchise of all time. So right there and then you had me at go. But this is one of those sets that's not meant for me, and that's perfectly okay. I don't even know if I do a pre-release for this, because it's not for me, and that's okay. I don't play Standard anyway anymore, except on Arena. So that is the list of titles coming out. Now, if that's a lot, that's 6 releases in Standard. And usually with a release, on average, there's 4 Commander decks that come with these things. I'm hoping with Aether Drift, they have it locked in to 2 Commander sets per set that come out. That'll be a perfect number so fatigue doesn't hit us on the Commander products, and fatigue's already going to hit you if you play Standard, but it's already going to hurt a little bit, because that's a lot of product. That's a lot of sets. On average, about 250 cards, individual cards, a set, unique cards, 1,000 if you count all the alternate arts of the 8 different cards that they'll print. And I'm looking at 6 sets, and already that's 1,500 cards that are coming out this year. That's between reprints and new cards. That's a lot to take hold of. That's not counting the Commander products, which is a 100-card format, and usually those have like 60-ish cards, new cards that aren't lands in them. But even still, that's another 120 cards times 6 times 6, 700 more cards. So you're looking at almost 2,300 cards if you just keep it to 2 commanders per set. And I'm hoping they do, because that, I felt, was a perfect number, especially with the Commander product that they released for Aether Drift. Those Commander decks are solidly good and an exceptionally great value, especially the zombie one. I'm not too much of a fan of the energy one, though, because Fallout last year had the energy precon, the Dr. Madison Lee precon, the science, and then Modern Horizons 3 had an energy commander deck. I bought both of them and mixed and used the cards for one to build the Madison Lee deck up. And then there's a third energy deck now, but this one is blue, green, red. So I don't know. I think it's blue, red, and green. Whereas the other two commander energy decks were Jeskai, which is white, red, white, and blue. So I might order a card or two from those commander sets decks because I need at least one of those cards in the energy deck. That'll slide perfectly in Madison Lee. And it's the artifact that pay 50 energy and draw 7 cards. And you may play cards from your hand as though they had no mana cost for this turn. That's what I need for Madison Lee. So if they keep it to 2, now if they go to 4 for the Tarkir Dragonstorm and Final Fantasy and Edge of Eternities, then you're going to have a problem because now you're looking at like over 3,000 cards for the year. And it's not just a fatigue on our end too. Like Wizards and the company itself, the print run is very quality assurance sometimes is not Wizards of the Coast's priority when it comes to things. And it was painfully obvious on the Aether Drift foil lands and foil package because they were already pringled. And that just basically means they curl in a U shape. And it's basically because the printing of foils has cheapened over the years and quality has taken a hit, and the foil itself tightens up ever so much because it's a separate layer than the paper, and then it just causes it to like pinch at the end, so it literally curls in a U like that. And Murders of Karlov Manor, apparently whoever must have been a good print day, I guess, because the vast majority of those foils that I have, especially the lands that came in the bundle, they're not pringled at all. I think one of them was. And then I opened up the Aether Drift lands, and even the 3 special lands that it came with, they were all pringled. The promo that I opened in Aether Drift pre-release was pringled already. So Aether Drift may not have the best Q&A quality assurance printing. But I have a feeling the Marvel one might be the best one they've printed because they're going to have to make a really good impression for Marvel and Disney. Remember that. And the last topic I wanted to bring up, I love MSRP being back. It was the dumbest thing Wizards did to eliminate the MSRP for every product. Now they're bringing it back for some products, and I appreciate it. The play boosters are $5.45 or $5. That's their suggested retail value. The collectors are $25. The commander decks are $45. The bundles are $53, and the special edition bundles when they come out are $80. That's why I got the first finish line, because it was $80. And that one came with 6 play boosters and 2 collector boosters. The collector boosters are $25 a pop. So you mean to tell me for $30 more, I can get foil lands, which were pringled, 6 play boosters, the cool die, the deck box, the stickers that it came with for some reason. I don't even know why these were here. But I'll do that. I'll buy every special edition bundle, and I have bought every special edition bundle except for the Lord of the Rings one, I think, because I couldn't find any. But I have the Phyrexia All Will Be One special edition bundle. The one that one cost me $110. But this one cost $80, and it had 2 collector boosters in there. The special edition Phyrexia All Will Be One had some of the best lands that I've seen, and had all foil full art lands that were perfect and not pringled. And the foiling on the box, chef's kiss. It was a good 110, but it only came with 1 collector booster. This one came with 2. So yeah, like the commander decks that I was at the store that I was at, one was priced at 60 because it's the zombie deck and it's got some dummy good cards in there, and the energy deck was priced at MSRP. So the thing is, if your store is overcharging for the collector boosters by a significant amount, I'll give the store I was at credit. It was only $65 for the zombie one. And it makes sense because at the moment, the zombie one is the one that's more sought after and has the more expensive reprints at the moment. But if you don't feel like spending $20 extra on it, which, it's up to you if you want to. If you want to support your local game stores, please do. Buy most of your product there. But if you're at a store and they're charging like $90 for that zombie precon, just try Targets and Walmarts. Because the MSRP is back. They're going to be $45 there. Now, will you be able to find it? I don't know. But that being said, it's a check and balance. Now, that and the commanders aren't even, and the set isn't really officially out yet, and already this zombie deck is being like a little bit overpriced from the MSRP because it's got such fire cards in there. I think one of the cards in there is like a reprint that's like going for $50 already. Those prices will decrease next week, and if not already, but still, like, there's some valuable reprints in the zombie Aether Drift commander deck. All right, folks, I have talked for 41 minutes, and I still have to edit this up before I release it. I'm going to fix a few things. I may have accidentally said a word or two that I can't say. And thank you for listening to the first episode of the new season of Goblin Grenade Podcast on Max Heroes and Villains YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what you think about me. Tell me what you think of my opinions within reason, and be respectful of those. Be respectful when you give your opinions, please. That being said, my name is Dom Douglas, commentator for XWW. May your top deck always be mythic. As I look to stop the recording, there it is.